Hello and welcome to the Discover Virginia Beach podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Trahan, your tour guide to the Virginia Beach area. If this is your first time listening, I am so glad you found this show. Each week, I publish a new interview with locals ranging from musicians, government officials, CEOs, artists, and much more. And my aim is simple. It's to help you discover, define, and then go out and do exactly what you're looking for during your next vacation, relocation, or outing to the Virginia Beach area. And if you're looking to join in on the conversation, take part in monthly giveaways, and get your hands on my custom event calendars, head on over to Facebook and send me a friend request. That's Joseph Trahan. And check out my Facebook group of nearly 50,000 fans of the Virginia Beach area. Don't worry about writing anything down. The links for each episode, along with the Facebook groups, will be in the description below and also in the show notes. All right, here's the show. We are going across city lines to the city of Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach's best neighbor and some of the best places to visit during your time in Virginia Beach is going to be in Norfolk. Today, we have the incredible opportunity to speak with Kate Bianchi, co-owner and creative director of Mudita Café and Coffeehouse. Kate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here, Joseph.
We are super pumped to have you on. And then, of course, we'd like to get every conversation started off the same way. What got you to, to the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area? And then, of course, what, enticed you to stick around and build your life and your business here?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in upstate New York, Rochester. I went to school down in Florida. So I had the extreme cold and then I had the lack of seasons. So when I was jumping around looking for the next spot, I kind of split the difference. I was looking around the Washington, D.C. area, Norfolk area. Well, I guess not Norfolk specifically, but Virginia area, I should say.
Sure.
I happened to get a job here in Norfolk. It was an amazing company that I got to work for about 3 years prior to doing the cafe. And I did fall in love with the area. It's one of those places where you've got I'm sure you talk about it all the time on your podcast, but you got the beach on one side, you got the mountains on the other. You're, 2.5 hours away from a city. The options are endless and you can kind of take a weekend trip really easy. And I just love that about it.
Absolutely. There is so much going on. We have to cross city lines just because Norfolk has an incredible array of opportunities as well. Mudita, what does that mean to you?
So Mudita, outside of what it means to me, Mudita as a word is the feeling of vicarious joy you get when someone else is happy. So I like to position it as like if you have a best friend or a family member and they are so excited to tell you some news, you can just see them bubbling. And so you start bubbling up with that happiness. You have no idea what it is, but you're excited that they're excited. It's that feeling. It's that happiness that's just bubbling inside of you for someone else. That has nothing to do with you. And to me personally, when I think of customer service, honestly, when I think of getting my cup of coffee in the morning, that feeling to me is just unwarranted happiness. It's sharing happy with someone else. It's making their day a little bit better, even though it has nothing to do with you. And so that's really the core message at our cafe and within our kind of company culture. We just want everyone to understand that our job as a customer service individual in our position is just to share happy with that person that is standing in front of you.
Absolutely. And if you're not happy yet, you can get a cup of coffee to make you feel a lot better, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I love
makes
that.
the day a little better.
I love that. So you started off in upstate New York, right? What part you said?
Rochester.
Rochester. Okay. So nowhere, boonies, cold.
Yeah.
Then you go.
If you are a fan of football, you'll know like Buffalo Bills. So that's to my west, and then what would have been to the west, and then University of Syracuse to the east.
Sure.
So you're smack dab in the middle there.
Oh wow! And then Florida. What made you decide Florida?
So we basically, if you know Buffalo from where I kind of just said, lots of snowstorms, lots of ice storms. A lot of lake effect snow. And right in the middle of one of those, my parents and I traveled down to Florida to see some relatives, and we were down there. There were people sunbathing. And I thought to it was right around that crucial like sophomore, junior year where you're
Sure.
deciding where you're going to go to college. And I thought to myself, I'm not going back north. Like, I'm not doing it. There's people sunbathing. I'm staying here. So I ended up at Florida State. I did my undergrad and my graduate there. So I was there for 6 years. And it was absolutely wonderful. I loved Florida, but I did just with my whole heart miss the changing of the seasons and just the beautiful colors of fall. So I knew I had to go at least a little bit further north to be happy.
Sure, sure, absolutely. I mean, so Florida's a beautiful place, and in the real estate field, many people always tell me like, "Oh, I'm considering Virginia and also, Florida." And I know statistically that there's a very low stake for me, so I started this whole podcast and convinced people to move here instead of
I love
Florida.
it.
So
I'm doing that with my parents right now. I'm trying to convince them.
that is great. You tell them to move here, tell them to join the podcast, all that fun stuff. And we definitely want to encourage people to check it out. And at least not for a permanent vacation, at least for a weekend getaway here in the area. Because there is so much to discover. And I love this theme of like that shared joy, because this is definitely one of those places, regardless of what city you get into. I mean, you could go all the way out to Suffolk, you could be in Williamsburg, and there's just this really interesting vibe that kind of all culminates throughout the community. I'm curious for you, Kate, whenever you were, first planning to get to this area and figuring out your career path, was, were those themes noticeable to you offhand, or did it take a minute for you to kind of recognize and see what Norfolk had going on?
Yeah, so it definitely took a minute. I will blame COVID on that. It was not Norfolk's fault. I ended up moving here right around I don't know if I think I officially moved here in 2020. So like February 2020 was when I got my job offer. Luckily they kept me on, but I got my job offer here in Norfolk. So before that, I knew the general area. I had friends, family, in the DC and here in Norfolk, and I believe in Virginia Beach area. So I knew of the area, but I didn't really know the intricacies of Norfolk. And then I kind of moved here, and really what happened is everybody for 3 weeks in a row said, you came here at the perfect time. The St. Patrick's Day parade is coming. The St. Patrick's Day, that's all I heard for 3 weeks. And then the next thing I heard was go inside and stay inside for, the next 8 months. So it definitely took a minute, but even during COVID, I feel like Norfolk as an area had a very wholesome community aspect to it. Like there's bike shops and bike rides that people just tried to keep everything moving, and the coffee shops that were open at the time, had their outdoor spaces where they opened up, the lawns in front of their shops and said like keep 6 feet, but let's all still be here and let's be enjoying what Norfolk has to offer. And I think that the city itself did a great job of coming together and keeping that sense of community, even during a time where people could feel very alone and very separate, which made me want to stay, definitely.
I love it. And I'm kudos to Norfolk for doing that, because it was an incredibly challenging time for everybody just trying to figure out how to stay connected, and also, just how to navigating the job sphere as well. So marketing, media, these are things you studied in Florida. You took the good, like you went and sunbathed, you did all the fun stuff, then you came to Norfolk. What was it about that degree? And of course your minor in entrepreneurship. When did all that start to make sense for you, as far as like, oh my gosh, like I can just skip this W-2 life and go straight into owning a business? Like when did it click for you?
So my partner, who is both my partner in business and life, she is a driving force with no stops, no breaks sometimes, which is absolutely wonderful about her. And she has this, just like if she gets something set in her mind, she's like, let's just push it and see how far it goes. And I like to tell people, and I've said it like in almost every time someone asks this, some people, when they had that time at home, like learned a hobby or they built a table, baked some bread. Madison and I got like this little like nugget in our minds of how hard could it be to start a coffee shop, because that's, primarily what we were doing to like get out of the house, was like walking to coffee shops. And
Sure.
I have a caffeine addiction. I can admit to it. I have a problem. But I needed that, and it was something that was making me happier and fulfilling my life. And She also has a degree in business and is so much smarter than me in many ways, in terms of like the finance and all of the pieces that you need to kind of create, the synergy within the business. And between the two of us, like as we started chatting, it lined up. It was like, this is possible. The two of us have that skill set together. We both are very driven. And it went from this is a possibility to this is something we could really do.
Wow, that's incredible. And for those of us who have partners, I definitely think we can relate. I mean, my wife is 10,000 times smarter than me. That's why I put her diplomas in my office, so I look more official on meetings when I turn my camera around. But yeah, it's just having those opportunities to really, double down, right? And leverage somebody else's resources in a positive way can definitely influence, a community and also a business. It can start one.
Yeah.
Would you mind walking us through the early days? Because obviously real estate purchasing in 2020, 2021 was crazy. And then on top of it, you had commercial real estate space. What was all that landscape like for you? And then of course, how did you navigate the landscape during that time?
Yeah. So I believe that we got really lucky in the timing. So it was kind of like a best of times, worst of times situation. By the time we were looking for our space, by the time we were really keying in on like, okay, we're ready, we have a plan, let's see if there's feasibility and a location that would work. There were spaces that had unfortunately emptied because of COVID, because
Sure.
there were businesses that went under. And so there was available, real estate in that area in the commercial space. There were also a lot of commercial, I believe, like landowners who wanted to refill those spaces. They were spaces that had potential. They had places in them that were successful before, and they just needed, they needed ideas and people to refill them and give them life again. So when we were looking, we had landed on Ocean View because when I first moved here, I landed in Ocean View. My first question was, okay, where's the nearest coffee shop? And it was downtown. It was like, okay, get on the.
I don't want to go to downtown for coffee. Like,
and
that's
I was like, I
too
want
much
this
parking
in my backyard.
Yeah, right.
Why is it not around the corner? So we ended up with a very good opportunity in that the person who owns, and I'm in the kind of upstairs of our space right now. So the person who owns this space had been looking specifically for a coffee shop for Ocean View. They really wanted that coffee shop to come to fruition, and had a vision for what Ocean View could be. And so we kind of filled that spot, and then they were able to work with us because there was space and there was this idea of bringing community back to Ocean View. And they said, okay, like I'm willing to take a step back and give you, obviously, there's going to be a period of toughness because nobody's going out and shopping anymore. It's going to be harder to start a business in this time. So like we had that startup time of of kind of lower rent rates and all of that to get our feet moving. So it was a great opportunity for us as first time business owners, and one that I think without Mudita may not have come out on top, or at least not as successfully after that first year as it did, just because there were slower, it's slow to open a business. It's even slower when you're opening a business and trying to deal with like, okay, what are masking procedures and like how many tables are we allowed to put in here? But then if COVID gets, like if all of those regulations get like loosened, can we put more tables in? You're asking all of these really odd questions. Do I have to like serve at the door, and will we have to close? So we got very lucky in that the landlord here was very forgiving and kind of said like, it might get weird, like we don't really know. So let's give you guys some space and some time to like figure it out, and to start up without rent. So all of our build out happened without paying rent. And those were just opportunities to us that we benefited from, in the sense that, we didn't know how long it would take us to open our doors, and we didn't know if the health department was going to love our plan the first time round. And so those are just things that I can't be thankful enough for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got a great deal, right?
Yes.
But that isn't just because it was a good deal for anybody. It was because you knew what you were looking for, the specifications. And of course, any real estate transaction, I always say, it involves a little bit of luck when you're investing, right? And just so happened the landlord was looking for a coffee shop?
Yes. So we actually knew that he was because we were sitting in another coffee shop when he came in to ask that coffee shop owner if he was interested
No.
in opening a coffee shop in Ocean View, which was a funny opportunity as well. Like we were sitting there and we were like, he wants a coffee shop in Ocean View? You know, we were like, well, how hard could it be to open a coffee shop? The answer was much harder than like, learning to use an espresso machine.
Right.
And those were all the additional lessons to learn, which luckily my background and her background both lent to. But it was very funny because it was like a great happenstance of like, oh, we always thought there should have been a coffee shop in Ocean View too. And so like it was just a good opportunity to take advantage of that.
Wow. All mingling around coffee. I mean, that's why coffee is beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So flash forward, your doors open. I think you said 2021. It was that in, when was that? July 2021?
Yeah. So I believe we technically opened our doors June 2021. We were open for just the weekends from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So Saturday, Sunday, I still had a full-time job. My partner still had a full-time job. So we would go to work. We'd come home from work. We, would work at the cafe, and then on the weekends we'd go back to work, and we would just serve coffee for like those 5 hours. We did 3 weekends, maybe 4, of just us learning how to use the point of sale machine and make a coffee and set standards for what we wanted our product to look like.
Sure.
And during that time, we were also doing some onboarding and hiring a group of people who ended up being an amazing first iteration of staff for us that really set the bar. And I mean, like I think about those people, and they went through it with us because like I said, we didn't fully know what we were doing, and they got to learn along with us, and they gave us a lot of grace for those startup pains. I think that we were like, okay, actually we're changing our mind. We just told you this way. We got to do it this way. It's not working.
Right.
And so July officially opened our doors. We were open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 7 days a week. And we've expanded our hours since then. But that was, I think, the first 6 or 8 months was just that reduced schedule.
Gotcha. But you went to business school, and everything in business school translates exactly to how it is in real life, right?
Yes, it's, word for word, from page to pavement, no questions. Yeah, everything was super simple. When they said all you have to do is call your city and get the list of regulations, that's how it went down.
Yeah, just be like Ryan Howard from The Office, go to business school, everything else will work out, right?
Exactly. Yes.
No, Kate, I get it. So I mean, I get it in theory, right? Because you had to really navigate not only unique complex of situations with the government, right? The government telling you how to run your business and operate, which they generally do, but not to the extent of telling you to close your doors or how many people you can have. Yes. And then going to learning your espresso machine, which I'm sure you are a hobbyist and enthusiast to some regards, but when it breaks down or you have to clean it or you have to train somebody to clean it, it adds a lot of depth and involvement. So during those early days of working both jobs, did you ever have a moment of like, is this going to work?
I think every day. I think like quite literally the first, so the first, we got lucky. It was an interesting situation. So because we opened in July, we had this lovely summer show up, which was the summer COVID restrictions had started to lift. Everybody felt a little free, everybody's like, oh, it's summer. We can be outside. There's freedom. And then the second, September, October hit, 2 things happened in Ocean View. One, Ocean View, as much as it's not a tourist city like Virginia Beach, right, does have a strong influx of summer birds. Like they just come in, they, have, they either will rent or they will, have Airbnbs and such down along the beach. And you get a lot of foot traffic that you're not aware of if you're not aware of the area, the kind of the summer boom of Ocean View. And then also you have people from downtown who normally stay downtown and in Ghent because there does have those areas have a lot to offer, that will come up to the Ocean View area during summer because it's kind of the locals beach. It's an easy one to get to. And so the second it hit October, I mean, I remember like probably the second week in October, Madison and I looked at each other, we were like, we're going to close, like we're going to go under. Wow. Everyone had left and we were looking at it, a day where we had staff on and made $30. We had sold like 5 lattes the whole day for 8 hours.
How is labor? How is labor? What's the percentage, right?
Oh, we went, well, I don't even want to think about the percentage. We went, this is not going to work. And there were like, the October, November, December, that whole first year, I think every day was us just looking at each other going like, did we make a mistake? Like we were both still working our full-time, jobs. And at the same time, giving time where like from 6:30 to 8:30, I would be at the cafe to open it with one other person to verify that everything was going right. And then Madison would like go on her lunch break because she worked a little closer than I did to, make sure everything was closing properly. And so it was like this thing where we're going, okay, we don't have before work time anymore. We don't have lunch hours anymore. And then after work, we'd be 5:30 back at the cafe trying to like tinker with things or fix things or, this isn't in the right spot. And we just realized it. And at the same time, it felt like we had not no community, because we had a strong community of like regulars who had found us that summer, but we knew that we had not reached our community max in any way. Sure. And we also knew that it was going to continue to be a hard time because COVID, if you kind of remember that little curve, COVID restrictions were coming back a little bit and everybody was getting more cautious again, and nobody really wanted to come out of their house again because it was getting colder and flus were on the rise and colds were on the rise and kids were heading back to school, and things were just like all a mess. And we were like, definitely had that feeling. We were looking at each other going, this might not work. And I think it was really sheer stubbornness. Like I'd like to say it was like, belief, but I think at that point it was we were like, we started it. It's going to have to run into the ground before we end it.
We're pushing this rock up the hill, right? Regardless like if it comes rolling back down.
Exactly. Like it's going to have to crush us if we're giving it up. So
wow. What bravery, tenacity to want to continue to do that. I'm sure most business owners listening to this have a similar moment where they're like, yeah, it probably wasn't going to work, but in order for it to work is you have to keep going and moving forward. And obviously you guys, came out on the other end, net positive. You have more hours, you have a great menu. Let's dive into the here and now of Mudita, because I definitely want to encourage people to go and check it out, see what you guys got going on. I mean, it's not just drinks anymore. No. It just started off with drinks, right? And now you have the cafe, the coffee bar, the brunch favorites. Gosh, walk us through, let's just say, what does an average day look like for you as far as the general products and services you serve throughout your working hours? For sure.
So we've got everything, I like to say, from like your morning drinks to your evening drinks, and all the food to accompany it. So we do a wide selection of coffee and tea. We've always held strong to that since we started. We have amazing local suppliers, Blanchard's in Richmond, Virginia, as well as Southern Virginia Tea Company in Virginia Beach. And I like to call them out every time I can because they have both been...
Shout out to Southern Virginia. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Great spot. Very hidden gem. Unfortunately, I don't know why.
Truly.
But I found them last Christmas for tea shopping, right? Because all my sister-in-laws drink tea for some reason, not coffee. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's like hundreds of local tea. Yeah.
And I mean, and honestly, both of them on both sides, the amount of knowledge they were able to provide, the amount of just support from, other, like, she owns her business and she knows what it is. And so just like the emotional support of like, don't worry, I know it's wintertime, you're going to get through it. And same with Blanchard's, we've had an amazing, communication with their team, and everyone that we've worked with has just done what they can to give us the leg up that we need. So I like to call both those companies out every time I can.
Absolutely.
So now we hold steady to that. We've got a wide selection of those. We've got a variety of brunch foods. So everything from your like traditional breakfast burrito or your bacon, egg, and cheese to your avocado toasts and yogurt parfaits. We run those all week long. And then we've also got wraps, tacos, and what we refer to as handhelds, but a good variety of sandwiches for like the lunch crowd. One of our favorites is called, or like, I guess I should say customer favorite, is called the Golden Ticket. And it's like a 3-cheese grilled cheese. Ooh. Absolutely. Like you have to be in the mood for a grilled cheese, but it's one of the most savory grilled cheeses you'll ever get. So that's a 10 out of 10. And then when we move into the afternoon or that post 5 o'clock crowd, we do also have a happy hour that runs from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I like to call it one of the best happy hours you'll ever get because it's $5 for most of our drinks. And and we hold strong to that. So it's like mojitos, margaritas, Tom Collins old fashions. There's not many places where you're going to go and get a $5 old fashioned. So,
you're serving the best of both coffee, tea, and beer and alcohol. It's great. Yes. And happy hour from 4 to 7. You said it's just $5. Any of those drinks?
So 4 to 7. We've also got a bunch of specialty cocktails. We've got an amazing bar lead who's helped us grow that whole side of the business. And we are open till about 9 p.m. most days now. So we're very open for that post-work drink. We've got a bunch of small bites or tapas like spinach artichoke dip or bruschetta. So we really do kind of run the gamut from like when you're going to start your day to where you might want to end your day.
I love that. That's phenomenal, especially too, because like, unfortunately the mold of coffee shops, right, with big chains, right, is like you come, you open up your computer, connect to the Wi-Fi, and you go get your beverage and you work and you work and you work and you work, you work. No, you guys are kind of like, you have that space, right, for that time of day. But as the day progresses, you just get a little bit of more fun, excitement, or just a little bit of different flavors. And speaking of different flavors, I mean, you guys also have, and I definitely want to point this out because this is, really phenomenal. You have different events that happen throughout the months to encourage people to check out from like, walk me through it. What kind of events do you guys have going on? And of course, what can people expect when they're coming to those special events?
For sure. Yeah. So this is really our first year where we've pushed events. So I'm happy that they're on your radar. We've, like I said, it's been an interesting growth period. We finally got our footing. We know where we want our hours to sit. And that was always the hardest part about throwing the events, was knowing that we'd have the time to, give to them. But from the start, we've always wanted to be a community space, a space where events could be held. Coming up this month, we've got, honestly, starting tomorrow, we've got an open mic on the first Wednesday of every month. We've got improv that runs on the second Friday. It's weird because it is technically our first Wednesday and our second Friday this week. But we have an improv comedy group that runs on the second Friday of each month. We're doing a monthly paint and sip as well now. So this Thursday, we're doing a paint and sip event where it's a snowman. You can come in. The ticket includes a drink, so you get a free drink to sip while you're doing your painting. We've also got an art market coming up next Sunday, and we host a bi-weekly trivia that we just started. So we're doing classic Christmas movie trivia next week, and last week we did music bingo. So now we're doing like a bi-weekly trivia as well. So we're starting to get all those events rolling. Lot to keep up with, and a lot to learn, I think, on our end too, just about making sure we're hosting the events to the best of our ability. But it's been a lot of fun, and I think it's getting a different crowd in than normally finds us, because I mean, we had a person who shows up at like 7 a.m. every morning, and for some reason he was walking by and like glanced in at our music bingo, and he like came in and he's like, wow, this is a different vibe. And we're like, yeah, it's it does kind of turn over once you hit about 3-4 o'clock. The cafe, not that you can't still come in and do your work and like log into your laptop, but there is also like a little bit more livelihood to it, and it does give you a little bit more of a cozy bar feel.
No, yeah, absolutely. And especially considering just like how many different events there are, like regardless of your vibe, you can really check it out. I mean, from a karaoke night to a paint and sip night. And then of course, shout out to Commonwealth Comedy. We had them on the podcast earlier on in the season. Edward and his team do a phenomenal job of providing just a really unique experience, for those people looking for a good laugh, or at least, staunch looks when they're walking past, like, what is going on? Is that a coffee shop? Like, what are people going on? Do you have people that do that more often than not? Just like kind of stare outside the window, like what's going on in there?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun because our neighbors, kind of to both sides, offer very different experiences. So and we have a good relationship with like the strip of businesses that we're in, but we have like a jujitsu shop, and then we have like an like comic and games shop. And then on this side we have just a Chinese shop and then a Pizza Hut. And so if you're going to any of those locations, you're not necessarily like in this mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna like stop at a coffee shop, And
Right.
you also like think of us as a coffee shop because you maybe come in like in the morning and then they'll walk by to like pick their kid up from the jujitsu or to grab like a board game and they'll just be like you'll know they're not coming into you, but they'll be at a full stop trying to figure out what is going on inside this cafe.
That is so much fun, especially considering just how far you've come from like the early days of like not knowing if this is going to work, but continuing to push forward. I love that. I mean, that's, business 101, right? You got to find the supply, demand, and really accommodate for what people are looking for. Looking into the future for you and your associate, you and your partner, anything on the horizon folks can be looking out for to, maybe continue to see the expansion and growth of Mudita and everything it has to offer?
I mean, I hope so. Like I said, this is our big year. This past year has kind of been getting our footing, solidifying those hours and pushing towards events. So I'd like to see us just grow in that event calendar and have things that kind of can be there for any type of person. And then I also think that unconfirmed knowledge, but right now we are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I think that this summer we might even just kind of bop it to 10 p.m. just to like realize that late night crowd that Ocean View tends to have during the summer months. It doesn't have it so much during the winter months because it does get pretty chilly right next to the water. But I think it's just always a fun time. We've really been pushing a lot of our creative juices with like the cocktails that we're creating, and we do switch our coffee menu up quite a bit. That's been around for about 3 years. So we have some things that we know people love, and we promise not to take them away from people. We've taken them away, every once in a while, like we won't do it. And I'll get like an angry message from someone, hey, where'd this go? And I'm like,
it's always
sorry,
on Facebook too, right? It's always on Facebook. I can't believe you took away my favorite hazelnut spice coffee. And then it's like, okay, no, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back.
Yep. So, but we're pushing those creative muscles. We're always trying to find some new flavors that maybe people haven't tried before. Or just honestly something that we haven't tried before. It's a lot of fun. That's probably my, like if I had like one thing I love the most about being in this position that I am, grateful to be in, it's that I can just, on a whim, if I have this idea for like, I think this might be a good drink or this might be a cool flavor, I can just walk down there and just like look at a variety of ingredients and kind of go ham. I can just go to town on, sometimes it's terrible, don't get me wrong, but I at least get the opportunity to try, and, I can consider that part of my job.
What's the most interesting creation you've had?
Oh gosh. I know that's hard. So we've got a drink. It actually did make it to the menu. It's called the Don't Be Old Fashioned. It's a peanut butter and jelly themed old fashioned.
Okay. Yeah, classic.
So, what happened one day was, I guess there was such a thing as a peanut butter and jelly shot, which I had never heard of. But Ashley, who runs our bar, like really wanted me to try a peanut butter and jelly shot. I was like, that's not for me. I took it anyway because I'm a brave soul.
Of course. Got
in that moment, I went, you know what? This is going to be weird, but like, I want to sip on this. Like we need to tone everything down. Like it's way too sugary. It's way too much. But if we tone everything down, I think it would be an absolutely delicious drink. So now we do a house fat wash on our whiskey. So we do a 12-hour peanut butter fat wash, which is amazing. And then have cocoa bitters and Chambord that just give it that like sweetness of like a peanut butter and jelly. It's not too much. It's just enough. It's a lot of peanut butter on the nose and not too sweet. But it's one of the like best drinks that I think or I guess one of the most unique drinks that we have on our menu. And people who try it are always a little bit afraid, but then always very excited that they got the opportunity to try something that they definitely haven't seen before.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, anytime you mix a old classic like peanut butter and jelly, you're in for a treat regardless, right?
Yes.
Love it. Well, hey Kate, I know you got to get back to the restaurant here soon, and of course, are you still working your day job? I just random thought here. What happened with that? Are you full-time Mudita now, or?
So as of this past February, I am full-time Mudita. My partner and I did a little flip-flop. So the first year, we both worked our day jobs full time. On that second year, we realized that given the extent of, let's call it the project, which is how we still refer to it, even though it's a full business. Given the extent of the project, she stepped down, and she actually did a year here where she very much set the groundwork for a lot of what we needed. And then we did a little flip flop. And then this past year, she went back to a full-time job. I quit my job, and now I'm here full-time, working this as my full-time job. So it's been a very big team effort. I think what's fun is we both took our time periods just when they needed to be. So when operations was important, and when streamlining the financials of the business was important, that year 2 of tuning everything to where it needed to be, she was in-house making sure that happened correctly. And in year 3, where there's a lot of outreach and a lot of community events, I have the opportunity to be here for us, and I'm a bit more of a chatter than her. So it always helps that she has somebody else that she can kind of, push on things like this. Even it's like, okay, I don't want to talk for 30 minutes. That's on you.
Right. Exactly. The beauty of co-ownership is you get to kind of lean on each other for different strengths and opportunities for growth. Right.
Yes.
Love it. Well, Kate, I want to be respectful of your time. We're going to transition to our last section here, our rapid fire section. These questions are quick and fast. You can answer with as much or as little detail as you'd like. Are you ready?
I feel like I'm on a game show. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Favorite coffee or tea blend you've been recently enjoying at your shop?
I got 2 for you. One for tea, Southern Virginia Tea Company. I think they still have it in store. Has pumpkin juice. If it's there and you're near Southern Virginia Tea Company, you have to go try it. It's delicious. In terms of coffee, I think self shout out. We have a peppercorn and clove latte. It's called the Cafe Tuba. Ooh. It's on right now, and it's super delicious.
Love it. Love it. Are you more of an early bird or night owl? Which best suits you?
I'm naturally a night owl, but I have become an early bird over the last year, and that is for sure.
Love it. Love it. What's one dream location? If you could open up a second cafe, where would you open it?
God, that is hard. I might have to pass. Probably somewhere out, like still in Virginia, but maybe closer to Richmond. I think there's, a good enough market there. But I think Virginia has a very interesting coffee culture, and I like it a lot. So
yeah, somewhere on the drive between Virginia Beach and anytime you're going north, because all there is are big chains. There's nothing local. I love it. I love it. Somewhere on the main highway. What's a book or podcast you'd recommend to aspiring entrepreneurs, folks that are looking to maybe start up that next business or start up that next project? Where would you recommend them to go or check out?
Yeah. I don't think it is exclusive business, but there are some amazing business related episodes. There's a podcast by a man named Lex Friedman. I think you can find it on YouTube or Spotify. He'll also have some of the most interesting guests you'll ever hear, but he does have some super amazing interviews with everyone from big CEOs, from Fortune 500 companies all the way down to maybe some companies you haven't heard of but are doing grassroots organization. And it's just interesting to hear different processes and just different ways of thinking. I think he always finds a guest that brings a new view to how they're looking at the world. And I think as a business owner, it behooves you greatly to see the different ways that people see the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great recommendation as well. Kate, would you mind just texting me that afterwards? I'll include it in the show notes as well, along with all of Mudita's information and event calendars. Moving on, here we have one ingredient you could never live without.
There's a lot. Is coffee considered the ingredient?
I think coffee beans is one of the main ingredients. You couldn't live without coffee beans.
I don't think I could. I really tried once, and it was a terrible situation.
You couldn't just do tea, just tea bags?
No, I did. I lived with Madison for about 7 months over in Southeast Asia, and we were traveling about, and I did for a minute there try and get off the coffee kick because they do have an excellent selection of teas available to you.
Yeah.
It did not work. I was just a grumpy person, and I missed the flavor. I just missed the wake up smell and the flavor, even if it's not the caffeine for me.
Sure. All righty. If you could serve coffee to any historical figure, current or past, and they would maybe they were walking by in maybe time traveling, and they crossed by Mudita and they come in and order something, who would you want to come in and visit your store?
I'm going to go with a current just because the first person that comes to mind. There is a past coffee winner, like of the World Coffee Championships. I believe his name is James Hoffman. I hope I got that right because I'm being recorded. And he, during the time of my hobbyist and even now, is someone who just provides a vast amount of coffee knowledge. And I would absolutely love to sit down and just kind of explore that brain. And he works a lot with flavors and creating the best coffees. And I think it would just be an amazing conversation to have as to how he got into the world he loves and finding the best way to optimize what we have going on in shop.
I love it. And it is current. So we'll just tag James and say, hey, check out Mudita Cafe. You check out Discover Virginia's podcast.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Yeah. We'll just tag him.
Quick flight across the pond.
You know, I've emailed Pharrell a couple times to be on the show as well. And his team's gotten back to me. It's been no, but they've gotten back to me. So, I mean, you can tag anybody in the media world. You could tag anybody. Yeah.
I'm counting on you now, Joseph. Okay.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it. If you got his name correct.
Exactly. If he listens to this and it's wrong, I don't think he's coming.
Let me write it down again. It's James. What's his last name?
I believe it's Hoffman.
Hoffman?
Yeah.
Right,
now
James
I've said
Hoffman.
it like 3 times, so I'm crossing my fingers that I said
That's
that
okay.
right.
We can edit it. We'll just put James in here.
Yeah, remember, like if it's wrong after you Google it, cut this whole bit.
Oh, perfect. I definitely will. Last one for you. Any let's see here. What's your go-to relaxation activity after a long day at the cafe?
I am a hardcore like couch. I hate to say it, but couch potato. I will just, like, if it's been a long day, Madison and I will just sit there and we will binge watch like probably 15 episodes of Schitt's Creek. So it's a good and a bad.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you're working on your other projects, right? Your projects take probably 80% of your time, right? The 20%.
20% to Netflix.
That's fine. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kate, this has been a phenomenal conversation. We really appreciate your time and would love to roll out the virtual red carpet for you. This is your opportunity to, with that in mind, that all of the links to everything you got going on will be in the show notes in the description below. This is your time to share any final thoughts or any messages you want to leave with the audience. The floor is all yours.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was an awesome opportunity, and I do hope that we get a few people who've heard this and are interested and intrigued. We've got new events rolling out all through December, and then we are coming back strong in January with, like I said, more trivia, paint and sips, improv nights, open mics. So if you're around, I know you hear cafe, you think it's oh, I don't need a morning coffee. But if you're looking for something after work, take a look at our website or our Instagram. We post all of our events on both, and hopefully you will find something new and fun to meander your way into here at Mudita Cafe.
Absolutely. It's an event center, moonlighting as a cafe, right? There's something for everybody, all types of vibes, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Love it. Well, thanks again, Kate. And of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking out another episode of Discover Virginia Beach podcast. We are wrapping up season 2 very quickly of everything there is to discover here in the Virginia Beach area, but there's still time. So if you know a local business or somebody that you think should be on the podcast, definitely let me know in the link in the description below, alongside hitting that like button. And we hope to catch you all in another episode very soon.